And so we were talking about something the other day that I want to bring up.
Yeah.
And what we were talking about was how, for speaking for myself, I would not be friends with who I was 2 or 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And myself looking at that, I look at that as a testament to how far I've come, right? As a sense of growth, because I kind of compare it to when we were in middle school, right? 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and you reach high school and you cringe at those middle school days.
Yeah.
Right? How you look back as a freshman, sophomore, and you look back at the 7th, 8th grade, and you're like, ugh.
The duck faces in the mirror.
Yes, the duck faces in the mirror, and like the Nike Elites up to like your knees.
Yes.
And like you thought you were the shit, and you were not.
It was Sperry's and a button-up plaid shirt with khakis.
There you
where
go.
I'm from. Yeah.
There you go. And like I never used lotion, so like my hands were just like cutting at the seams.
Right.
So, I look at it like that, where my 21, 22, 19, 18 years being in that headspace and who I was just 3-4 years ago, and looking at who I am now, when I was younger, being in middle school and being in high school, there's still a bit of innocence, untouched from the world.
For sure.
Your screw ups are, oh, I should have chased that girl. Oh, I should have shot my shot.
Yeah.
Oh, I should have, wish like him and I could have hung out more. Wish I could have tried out for that baseball team. But then when you reach 18, it starts to begin to think like in high school, like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have cared so much.
Right.
I wish I would have tried out for the football team. I wish I would have done this. And then hitting 24, I look at myself as, okay, one of my good friends makes this joke that we are diet adults. From like the age of like 22 to like
Diet
25,
adults.
26, like you're diet adults.
Right.
Like you're still like, you could be on your parents' insurance. You don't have the big boy bills yet. You don't have kids. You don't have those type of responsibilities. You're a diet adult. You're easing into it.
Right.
And so being said, I feel like from 21 to like 24, as the past 3 years, I feel like that was my first time seeing life, seeing that you're an adult. Your decisions and your actions come with consequences. Right. Or positives. That you are in control of your own narrative. Right. Even when I was 18, getting your first doctor bill, you're like, wait, why is this going to me?
I have somebody who takes care of
right?
that. Like, send it to my people.
Like, literally. Like, please contact my assistant. And my assistant's not, I mean my mom.
Yeah.
And looking back, I look at 21, 22, 23 as initially it was this sense of frustration and not cringe, but guilt. Of like, gosh, like, if this kid only knew, if that 21-year-old kid only knew, he was an idiot. And that's okay. That's completely okay. One of my childhood best friends, his dad used to always tell us, and he didn't mean ill will when he would say this, but he would say, you guys are idiots. You guys don't know it yet, but you guys don't know shit. Yeah. And that really, it didn't resonate with me until as I've gotten older, because, when you're 19, 20, 21, 22, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
I got this on lock.
All right, I got this figured out. I have a hot girlfriend. Whatever you and your friends are.
Do you see me right now?
Right. It's like I look good. Like I'm in college. I'm getting good grades. I have a good internship. Like I know what I'm doing, dude. And it's like, no, you don't. And looking at that age of just 21, 22, 23, I was saying I didn't know what I was doing. And how I used to say I want to attract peace and be around peace. I didn't know what peace looked like. And in regards to sexuality, wanting a partner, wanting love, but not knowing what love looked like. Because I'm battling, is it men, is it women, is it bad that I like men? Like, why am I attracted to women? I just slept with this model, but I had to get hammered to do it. And it's a great story.
Yeah, I liked it. Don't get me wrong.
And of course, with the boys, it kills.
Yeah.
But like, it's like, damn, like, I didn't feel anything.
Right.
And then my first time with a man, it's like, man, I really felt something, but I couldn't be present because the whole time I was thinking about, this isn't right. Why are you so into this? And not being able to be present.
Yeah. Was it like, this isn't right because it felt foreign to you, or it isn't right because you weren't fully into it, or?
It was like it didn't feel right because society says it shouldn't be right.
I see.
Because, growing up, this isn't directly what people have said to me, right?
Right.
I don't want it to seem like the world was just homophobic around me.
Yeah, just constantly throwing stuff at you.
No, it was just the expectation.
Mm-hmm.
It was the taboo of it all. Growing up at 16, 17, 18, watching Pornhub, watch these things, and I'm focused on not who I should be focused on. And being like, why is that? Why is that?
Yeah.
And then had my first interaction with a man. First of all, that's a whole different story in itself. But like I gulped. I was like, "Whoa,
it's different."
Oh, dude, if you ever want to just question your manhood, this man dropped his pants. I was like, I'm gonna keep my pants on.
This is gonna be a you.
This is
about you tonight. I got some work to do before I can pop that out.
Like I have whiskey dick. Like this is not gonna happen. But just all my life pushing down this fire and desire, and once getting that, not being able to appreciate it because I haven't come to terms with myself yet. And that's what I feel a lot of my 20, 21, 22, 23 phase was not falling into myself yet, discovering a lot of myself. If that's with my sexuality, if that's with handling my anxiety. When I was 20, I went through an incident and it sent me into fight or flight for 2 years. And not seeing that I am coping with alcohol, coping with marijuana, coping with
a little bit of that.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way, right? And seeing that is all forms of trying to feel again or trying to subdue a feeling, and not acknowledging, ADHD. That's that I have ADHD, having anxiety. After the incident, I was diagnosed with PTSD, but my initial thought was kind of imposter syndrome of, well, I haven't been to Iraq. I haven't been to war.
Yeah.
How do I have PTSD?
Yeah.
Like kind of almost like if my boys back home heard I had PTSD, they would call me pussy.
Right.
Not because like they're toxic, but because they'd be like, you don't have fucking PTSD, dude.
Like that's for like heroes
and
people who go through like violent, like super violent things on a consistent basis almost.
Exactly. And saying that, damn, I did. I remember there was times where my partner at the time, we'd be in a mall or something. I would just freeze in my tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And I would almost try and manipulate myself, like, no, like, you're just being overdramatic, like you didn't feel that way, calm down. But we would be walking in a mall or anywhere, and I would see the person who I thought did what they did to me, and I would just freeze. I would freeze and instantly want to go escape this uncomfortable feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where alcohol would come into the mix, and wanting to subdue those feelings. And then, the pity party, something that for myself, when you're 21, 22, 23, partying is fun. It's sexy. It's cool.
Yeah.
Right. But as you begin to get older, and it's no longer the first 5 times that you went out and had a good time with your friends at the club. It's no longer the first 10 times, the first 15 times, the first 20 times. It begins to sort of become same shit, different toilet.
Yeah.
Right. And then one friend veers off and says, I just don't want to do this anymore. I want to slow down a bit.
I've grown out of it.
Exactly.
Sense, yeah.
Right. Like I have work in the morning, or like I had this, I had this big test, or so on and so forth. And so they begin to distance themselves, and that's completely healthy. That's part of growing up. Is it's like we talked about how like, there's people that are like rocket boosters. That people just fall off. That's not because they're a bad person, just because they are no longer on the same wavelength that you're on.
Yeah. Right.
And so being said, one person starts to tail off, right? And then all of a sudden it's like your friend group of 8 is now 7 or 6.
Right.
And then friend group of 7 or 6 is now 3 or 4. And then it's a Tuesday night and you find yourself cracking open a White Claw. Like, I just got 2 to chill out. Now you're having 12. And you're blacking out.
Yep.
Right?
On your couch by yourself.
By yourself.
Yeah.
And it goes from playing Meek Mill in your apartment to pregame to you're playing Millennium, Good Things Fall Apart. It's just like, why am I crying? And then from that, then it's getting home and you should maybe smoke, on the weekends or at night to go to bed. Then it's, you can't get through the day without smoking to subdue, just to feel that you have to, in order to control your emotions and to not reach certain peaks, you have to just smoke with through it.
Yeah.
Or as soon as you get home, you know, I would find myself getting home and just, oh, thank God I can smoke.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, oh, like, I didn't kill anyone today. Like,
Right.
I didn't, right? Like, oh, I can smoke and just.
A day done.
Right. And
that's
just.
all I got.
Exactly. And just roll up. And eventually, it's just you at the party. Eventually, at the end of the day, it is up to you to get yourself out of it.
Mm-hmm.
No one can get yourself out of what you're going through. It's you. And eventually, it's just you lighting up that bong. It's not you and your friends. Eventually, it's just you cracking open that 6-pack. You know, it's not you and your friends. It's not you listen to fun music, dance around your apartment. It's you opening your phone and constructing a text that you know you shouldn't send, and then you don't send it, and you type it out, and you don't send it, and you type it out, and you don't send it. You know, and then it's just you crying, and eventually the pity party ends, and it's just you.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone has moved on with their lives and is trying to grow up, or or they're still kind of in that phase, but you know, everyone has different experiences. So, you know, like for myself, it was like, yes, I'm still young. People still enjoy this party lifestyle, but my demons have caught up to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I no longer can enjoy drinking because I am crying, you know, or it goes to anger, you know, where I get very upset and I can deflect it on somebody, and that's not fair. No one wants that either.
Right.
You know, no one wants to be crying in the club or trying to fight in the club. No one wants that. Right. And so eventually it's just you there. And that's where coming out of that, you know, 23-year-old phase of, I don't want to feel this way anymore. Partying isn't fun. And that's, you know, partying, hey, like, partying is fun for people that are 35. And that's, do your thing. Sure. You know, it's just, that's not my thing.
Right.
You know, and there was a rock bottom that I hit that you know about. That, like, I definitely think we could talk about on another podcast.
Yeah.
You know, that it was exactly what I needed at the time. Scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
But it's exactly what I needed.
Yeah, that was scary.
Right. Right. But I needed it to get there. And, you know, in these past 4 or 5 months, since then, being able to acknowledge the fight or flight state I was in, and acknowledge that, hey, like, you were 21, you didn't have it figured out. You didn't know. You know, you know, there was traumas and issues and emotions that you had since childhood that not only you had those, but then these recent things that happened at 21, 19, 20, whatever, they just kind of brought those to the surface.
Right. You
know, that person didn't break your heart. They just triggered this emotion that you felt when you were 12. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And being able to see that and take that fight or flight into lessons and learning, you know, and that you can't right every wrong, you know, something we've talked about, you know, and you used to really talk to me about, because I would say, like, you know, like, did I fuck up? Did I screw up? Should I say something to them? Should I reach out to them? And, you know, like, eventually, like, you know, you would say, like, did you do X, Y, and Z? I'm like, yes. You're like, then you did all you can do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and, like, you can't right every wrong. You know, something we talked about the other day was, am I trying to right this wrong for this person to do better, or am I trying to right this wrong for myself to clear my slate, right? To allow me to sleep at night.
Yeah.
You know, because I think we've all had those false apologies where someone reaches out, says so and so, and promises change, and nothing changes, and it almost hurts more. You know, there, you know, like it reminds me of time of someone from my past who apologized, and it felt to me that the action still occurred. And I remember telling them, please don't make me regret this, as in, like, please, like, you know, like, I'm moving on.
Yeah.
If this apology was just to make yourself feel better and the actions are just going to continue, please don't do this to me.
Right.
Like, don't give me this false hope.
Yeah, like, I've closed myself off and moved on and moved forward because I need to. That's what I had to do to heal. So if you're coming to me and you're giving me this apology, like, I'm willing to open back up to you, but understand now I'm opening back up to you. You have the chance to hurt me again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's something that, you know, where I would never want to be treated that way. And that goes into righting those wrongs of, you know, there are some wrongs where I don't ever want to treat some people the way I've treated, you know, friends, partners, family, you know, and that's where it's learning that and growing up. I feel like it's part of saying I was the problem, you know, and regardless of if someone I felt didn't treat me right or handle the situation with me right or understand me completely, also could be very much so vice versa, right? Where that person felt misunderstood and I was deflecting. Right. And so for and so for me, it's acknowledging that I was the problem and that I may not be able to right this wrong, but I can ensure that I can take this lesson, and actions speak louder than words,
Mm-hmm.
and I can take the actions and steps that I need to take to ensure that I never treat someone like that again,
Right.
or that I don't ever make someone feel a way like that again.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of. It's kind of funny, but there's Avatar: The Last Airbender, this like kids cartoon that I rewatched during quarantine because it came on Netflix, and I was like, I remember watching like pieces of the show, and then I rewatched it, and I was like, oh, there's this whole other series called Legend of Korra, and in a weird way, like it ties in perfectly. There's this point where like she she literally like is at her lowest point and she can't figure out like how to move forward, and then somebody comes to her and it's like it's when we're at our lowest point that we're the most open to the greatest change. And
Yes.
so it sounds like you went through that of like we like you and I know that moment where you hit that kind of rock bottom, and then that was 6 months ago ish,
Coming up.
somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so just to see like boom, you hit that lowest point, but you had the courage to say this is my lowest point. And tying it back into what we were saying earlier about like the PTSD, and it's we have this feeling of like that's just for heroes, which it definitely is, like the people who go and fight wars and police officers who go through those like intense
Absolutely.
shootings and stuff like that, absolutely. But it's also we need to expand that word not just to physical acts of heroism, but also like you being able to go through some of the really intense moments in your life that you've gone through, hit that lowest point and have the courage to be like, this is the time when I'm going to do it. This is the time when I am going to be better and I'm going to change my habits and everything like that. And to see what you've done in the last 6 months, like it should be a huge point of pride for you. And especially in the reflection that you've done, like turning 24, like that's inspiring to me for sure.
Well, thank you, and thank you, and that's and you saying this today, and we had the conversation the other day with my sister, and she made that comment how like how she said I'm very proud of you, and it's learning to accept that, yes, be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
When someone says it, it's almost kind of like are you sure, like
I don't know. I
almost
still
not
got some work to
trusting in
do.
yourself,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
are you sure you want to be proud of me because I might fuck this up.
Right.
It's getting out of that cycle of self-sabotage
Mm-hmm.
and just beating yourself up. Yes, I was the problem in instances, however I have to forgive myself for that. you know Oftentimes the world does not perceive you how you do. One of the reasons why, like, I love to say, like, I love being transparent, I love being vulnerable, I love being able to talk about things, is because you cannot say anything worse to me than I've already said to myself.
Right.
And with that being said, it's being proud of myself. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's learning to self-love, it's learning to fall in love with LJ. That's a thing too in this process. Is when I was 21, I did not love LJ, so how can I love someone else?
Right.
Right? I couldn't love LJ because I didn't know what LJ needed and wanted. I didn't know who LJ was.
Mm-hmm.
Right? LJ at the time thought this is what he wanted. LJ had no idea what he wanted.
Yeah, it kind of comes. It reminds me of like this idea of scope of influence, right? And I think most people, like 95% or a really high percentage of people, have a desire to make the world a better place in whatever form they feel comfortable doing that. And for a lot of people, and the best example of it is to do that like within your direct community, like your friends, your family, and then the people you see regularly, like in where you live and things like that. But that's like the second block of the pyramid of your scope of influence. And the idea is like you can't do anything for other people until your scope of influence is so small it just contains yourself. And you're taking care of yourself. You're treating yourself the way you want to treat other people, which is with love and compassion and grace and gratitude for like where you are. And I think so many people try skipping that step so quickly because I'm 100% the same way. Like my wife and I, we frequently talk about like when she's coming to me with a problem, I'm very anxious to fix it. And it's not fair to her because like I need to make sure she has that space to just feel things and just like get it all out and for me to just be there for her. But the reason why I love fixing her problems and fixing anybody's problems, like anybody who knows me knows that that's a big thing that I try to do is help the people in my life. But eventually I had to come to that realization of like, oh, I'm doing this because if I'm taking care of somebody else's problems, I don't have to take care of my own. And
Exactly.
running the gym, I had a team of like 25 people who, like, their lives were directly influenced by my ability to do a good job. If I make a good schedule, they get to see their kids more. If I run a good gym, they're more open for promotions and moving up in the world and elevating their lifestyle and everything like that. And it wasn't until I got that break in quarantine where Colorado shut all the gyms down. So I had no choice but to be by myself for 2 months. And in that 2 months, I realized, like, okay, I got up every day, I ran, I worked out, and I ate healthy, made a good meal, and then it was 11 a.m. And it's like, oh, cool. What did I do every day at 11 a.m.? Well, I'd go to the liquor store that's a half block away. I'd pick up a 12-pack of seltzers or beers or something like that, and I was like, I've earned this. Like, I did this, and I did the easy part of working on myself, which is like staying in my comfort zone of fitness and working out, because we're athletes. Like, that's
Yes.
what we did our whole lives, was physically take care of ourselves. But also we know as athletes, like, the more physically demanding you get as you elevate in like the level of playing that you're a part of, also the less the emotional and the mental part becomes an emphasis, because the physical has to be like your mechanics have to be perfect on your swing, because now everybody can paint corners, right?
Yes.
So you start just focusing on that physical aspect of it so much that you're like, well, mental and emotion, that's not even a part of what I'm doing here, and that's just something that I think anybody who's like a lifetime athlete has gone through at some point or another. And so that's why 2020 was that time for me, where like I hit a low point between Kelsey and I realized, like, I am just so far away from being the partner to this person that I want to be. And I love her more than anything in the world. Why do I still keep making these same mistakes over and over and over again? Like, anybody who knew us, even when we were like just friends, kind of getting to know each other, was like, they have a thing, like there's some connection between them. So as strong as that connection was, as strong as the love was, why am I still making these mistakes? And I see it with your family, like the love and the connection that you guys have with each other is like incredible, but you were making those same mistakes. You were still hurting them. And so that's where, in that direct scope of influence with you and your family, or me with Kelsey and I, it came to that realization of like, this is gonna keep happening until I make drastic decisions to do that for me. So I quit the job at the gym. We moved down to Colorado Springs.
Exactly. And, sometimes you have to hit that reset button.
Yeah.
And, that's where, my dad always says family doesn't have to say sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But, for me, it's like when I was going through that, I don't want to call it an apology tour, but apologizing to hold myself accountable.
Yeah.
And we talked about my grandma the other day, and, and it's actions speak louder than words. It's like, how can you radiate positive energy if you are not positive about yourself?
Right.
It's how can you fix someone's home if your home's broken down?
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a big part of growing up, is learning to love myself so that way I can love others the way I want to be loved.
Yeah.
And accepting that a $2 bottle of water, at the gas station is the same bottle of water that's a $12 bottle of water at Coors Field.
Yeah.
Right. But it's all about your placement.
Yeah.
And placing myself around the right people where I'm valuable, where I'm loved. Because, like, you aren't going to be appreciated everywhere you go.
Yeah.
You aren't going to be valued the same everywhere you go. And
right.
surrounding yourself with people that are like-minded and that want the best for you. And that's my family. That's you. That's, that's my childhood friends. That's surrounding myself with a healthy environment, because, when you were growing up, your parents would say, you are who you surround yourself with.
Mm-hmm.
And as I got older, I see, like, that's a very true statement.
Absolutely.
So, and it's falling in love with myself, but it's also being a healthy person that my family and my friends would want to be around, so that way I can be that pillar of light, and I can radiate positivity and attract positivity